everyone, and welcome to our Wednesday night edition of Sports Conversation on the Fightnwords Network. I'm John Henderson. We hope we have a good show for you this evening and have some information to pass along. Our representatives obviously are all across the country, and we'll be going from Florida to Washington to Atlanta before tonight's show is over to talk about a number of different events. First of all, though, our executive producer, Frank Carroll, we have a little child noise in the background, but if we can get over that child noise, we'll get a little program for tonight.
Yeah.
Frank?
As we approach the one of the best days of the year, where everybody gathers with their families to have good fellowship, fun, and feast, we ask all our listeners to take a moment to take out of their day to either take a moment of silence or to say a prayer for all the men and women of the United States Armed Forces, the men and women police and fire services, the doctors and nurses and first responders that are out there. They're all working. They're working very hard. And just remember two things. One, these people work for very little money. And two, freedom is not free. In fact, our armed forces have worked for almost a month with no money coming in. So we want to thank everybody for their continued leadership, our listenership over the year. We appreciate it. And from our staff and all our affiliates, we want to thank you and wish you a very, very happy New Year. Happy Thanksgiving.
Amen. Amen is right, and we always start off the show with Roy Cummings in Tampa. This will be no exception this evening. Roy, we get things underway. The big conversation today, we had a little bit of a chance to chat before we went on the air, and that was that Ron Reed and the Kansas City Chiefs may be looking at the first time missing a playoff in a long, long time.
Yeah, well, if Ron Reed was actually coaching them, I think they probably would miss the playoffs. But since it's Andy Reid, I still look at 5-5. They've got issues. There's no question. But we're only halfway through the season, and if anybody can bounce back, I would think it's the Chiefs. That team's not a whole lot different than it was a year ago or the year before. It's obviously a couple of years older. But Patrick Mahomes is still as dynamic a quarterback as there is in the league. Right now, the Broncos are kind of being led by a rookie. They are being led by a rookie, second-year player. But at the end of the day, I mean, those guys tend to struggle, and he'll have his moments. And the Chargers, it's a good football team, but I think they're almost as vulnerable as Kansas City. I'm just not ready to count Kansas City out. A lot of people are. I understand that. I get it. They haven't looked good yet. But, again, I just feel that if there's a team in the league right now, even more so than a team like Philadelphia, if there's a team in the league right now that can figure things out, figure out a way to right the ship and win consistently down the stretch. It's Kansas City. It may not happen. You may be right. It certainly the team is showing signs of wear. There's no doubt about that. Not so much Patrick Mahomes, but Travis Kelce a little bit, the offensive line a little bit, the receiving core around. They don't run the ball as well as they have in the past. That's a problem. So there are issues there for sure on both sides of the ball. But again, not ready to count them out just yet. You're right. They could miss the playoffs, but I still think they've got a pretty good chance to get there.
Roger, as we talk about the success, and I know Ledbetter is going to join us a little bit later on to also talk about the National Football League from Atlanta. But every time the Eagles need to make the right move, and they've played some tough games of late, they make the right move at the right time, and they come away with a W.
Well, they do, and you got to give Howie Roseman a lot of credit for making those moves before the trade deadline. I mean, his pickups have instant results, positive results. But, Roy, I understand your view on the Chiefs. There's a lot of people that feel that way. But your buddy, Ira, sure does not agree with you. He was very vocal today. He thinks that Mahomes has some kind of issue that maybe they're not bringing to light. And he said he's just not the same guy, and very critical of the right tackle. So you're the best of friends, I know, but man, we got two different opinions from two friends. Let me put it to you this way: if Ira thinks that the Chiefs are in trouble, all the more reason to believe that they'll bounce back. But he's a Hall of Famer, Roy. He's a Hall of Fame voter. That doesn't make him a Hall of Famer. There's a difference. He's a Chiefs fan, and things aren't going very well for him. I mean, think about that. A guy who grew up in the and he's a Chiefs fan. I don't know how that happened, but he's a Sixers fan. And he's a Sixers fan, right? I mean, what do you? So, look, I was very savvy. He knows what he's talking about, and as I said before, he may not be wrong. But still. Look, the Chiefs have won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of their last 8. Okay, they've lost a couple in a row. Lost to Buffalo, lost to Denver. Those are not losses that you say, okay, that start raising the red flag and say, okay, they got issues here. One score games, and in both cases, lose by 3, lose by 7. At Buffalo, at Denver, on the road, a couple of losses. I think again. I think it's too soon to start writing that epitaph for these guys, but we'll see how it goes. Look, they got another tough one coming up at home against Indianapolis this week. Then they're at Dallas. You got Houston Chargers coming up. They're going to have to earn it, no doubt. And somebody's going to have to slide and slip for them to get there as it stands now, clearly. But as I said, I still believe in the Chiefs. I still think they're as solid a team as there is in the league, and I think they'll still I think they'll be there at the end. It may come down to that game against Denver on Christmas Day. That could be a whopper of a game. And then you got the fourth, the game on the 4th that finishes it up at Las Vegas. So we'll see. But look, I'm not ready to give up on these guys. I still think that they'll be just fine down the stretch.
Well, it's interesting to me. We'll jump a little bit of field and come back to football in just a little bit, but. A couple of things I wanted to make note of tonight that we can at least touch on. We never touch really on the NBA, but LeBron could be setting a record night out there in L.A. Your thoughts on, first of all, a guy at that age, after coming back with the sacroiliac problem all during the summer, is he going to be able to really withstand a season again in the NBA with, the physical contact that's involved, and then also be maybe involved in the Olympics or whatever as well. So, Roger, we'll start with you on that one.
Well, I give him a lot of credit. It's a very tough grind over all these years. And remember that he came right out of high school when he came to the NBA. And I give him a lot of credit. I disagree with some things he did moving around, from team to team. But, hey, listen, that's him. He's a Hall of Famer, no doubt about it. And I think he does a lot. I think it's really something that you've got a man playing in the NBA and his son's playing too. I think that's really interesting and something we'll always remember.
Roy?
Yeah, I mean, look, clearly one of the greatest players the game's ever had. Some would say the best. Don't know if I'd go that far, but still, certainly in the he's on Mount Rushmore for the NBA, no doubt about that. And he's in the twilight of his career. The injuries are starting to pile up. They're limiting him a little bit, and rightfully so. The Lakers are limiting his time on the court, and it makes sense. Almost, I wouldn't say a role player just yet, but close to it. And I think maybe once he gets this record, maybe it would be time for LeBron to start thinking of it. He's got the opportunity now to play with his son, which is big. But after that, I'm starting to hope that maybe he'll start to bow out, and because I don't want to see him, look like he doesn't belong. I don't want to see that. Let's not end this career, this great career, this hallowed career, with that. Let's not see him struggling to get down the court, struggling to get off the shot, struggling to make the plays that made him special. Let's remember him for what he has been, which is arguably the best player in the history of the game. So good for him. I'm glad he's good enough to get, he's going to get the record. Glad he's able to do it with his son on the court with him. Those are special moments, but I think maybe it's time for LeBron to start thinking about the next chapter.
Well, a lot of people thought he was going to call it quits. This was going to be it. Maybe tonight, where there was going to be some type of announcement, but now they're really very enthusiastic that he's going to try to play a little bit longer. And I think, and I don't know the exact age bracket for the longest player to play in the NBA, but I believe that this is it. I think he sets a new record tonight for age and continue to be able to play. And I agree with you. I hope he can continue to play at the right level, or to call it a career.
Yeah, as long as he can play at a high level. And again, it doesn't have to be an elite level. As long as he can go out there and physically contribute and play again. If he can play, so he's worth 18 minutes a game, great. If he's worth 10 minutes a game, great. But play at a level that's respectable and something representative of his skill set that we know about. Nobody expects him at this age to be the game changer that he was 5-10 years ago even. But you know what? I think the Lakers already realized that. I think they've moved away from him being the kind of the centerpiece of the offense, and that's fine. Just hope again if he's going to play, let's just make sure that he's playing at a respectable level.
Roger?
Well, I would hope that he would play at a respectable level too, or pack it in.
Well, we're going to find out tonight.
Well, we're going to find out tonight, and listen, it's a long NBA season too, and just have to wait. I mean, the age takes its toll. We all know that, and you never know what can happen. The Falcons. We'll talk about it later, but Falcons quarterback got hurt, and he's got like a 9-month recovery period after major surgery now, at least. So who knows whether he'll be playing much next year. Well, that's what happens.
Quarterbacks are going down left and right in the National Football League. They're really having a problem. Sure, I want to get to Roy a little bit here with the National Hockey League. We haven't had much chance to talk about it. And Roy, it's an unusual situation right now. Every time you look at what's going on with the Islanders or with the Knicks or what's going on in the divisions, all of a sudden we see Tampa Bay at only a couple games over 500 at 9-7, which is a little bit surprising.
You talking about the Lightning?
The Lightning, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You mentioned the Knicks. I wasn't quite sure.
No, I said, I went down. I talked about that. Yeah, okay.
Meant the Rangers. Yeah. Look, they're still trying to bounce back from a really bad start. I mean, not as bad as some teams had, but an unlikely start for the Lightning. And again, I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that Andre Vasilevsky, their goalie, who will be in the Hall of Fame one day, not quite as sharp as he was coming off an injury in the preseason, and it showed for the first 3, 4, 5 games. He wasn't as sharp as he could have been. That cost them a little bit. They just came off a stretch where they had gone 10 or maybe it was 11. They got the power play goal last night in beating New Jersey. But before that, they'd gone a 3-game stretch without a power play goal. And that's, that's a big part of Tampa Bay's game is that power play. And we've talked about it before. I think the loss of Steven Stamkos has hurt this team a little bit. And it didn't show up last year as much. But maybe the further you go on and you try to, replace him and try to squeeze some other guys in there, that's part of it too. But look, they've been hit by injuries, as a lot of teams have. I think that's affecting them. So there's a lot going on there. But, I think the feeling overall is that they've righted the ship. Won last night against New Jersey, which, has been playing very well throughout the course of the season so far. Look, I think the Lightning are going to be fine. I still think they're as good as any team in the conference. Good enough to certainly get to the conference finals, unless, of course, they face Florida in the first round, which who knows what that's going to look like with Florida, with their injuries. So I think the Lightning have, in essence, righted the ship, and I think I think they're probably headed for a pretty good stretch here, where they're outplaying their opponents and winning more games than they lose.
Well, you're right on target in terms of the Bulls have gotten off to an outstanding start. They're right at Carolina right now, but so you look at what's happening over there at the same time. But it's been interesting because go back to the Atlantic and Boston, Detroit, and Montreal. Boston at times plays great, and then at times it does not play so great. Roger?
Well, exactly, and I think it's early in the season, and you're just seeing a lot of good but not great hockey. I mean, I did see a couple of great games. I have to admit that, but I'm looking at the Flyers, and at least they seem to be on the right path now. And I was talking about the Lightning with some friends. And because he's a big Lightning fan, because he used to live down in Tampa. And I said, I really think that they will rise to the top, when all is said and done. I think they're just that good. But, you still have to face Florida, and we know how good they are. But I think it's too early in the season to really count anybody out or get upset about any of the teams.
Oh, I don't think I agree with you. I don't talk in terms of counting anybody out of anything at all because the competition is so strong within the league itself that I don't expect. Like football now, it's almost a week to week as to whether you're in or you're out.
And getting stronger, guys, and getting stronger because you look at right now you talked about Boston, second place there in the Atlantic. And yes, they've been a bit inconsistent at 12-9. But the Red Wings are ahead of them, which is a surprise. I don't think anybody expected the Red Wings to make the jump they've made. Montreal right behind them, ahead of the Lightning. So there's two teams right there, Montreal and the Red Wings, that are a bit of a surprise. Montreal, not so much. I mean, they started to make a move last year, but the Red Wings have suddenly, come back to life. And then what's really interesting, though, is, you look out west and you've got Anaheim, you've got which is in first place in the Pacific, ahead of Vegas and ahead of Kings. I mean, that's amazing. And then, the Blackhawks are making noise in the Central Division. And what's really great, guys, what's really great about the NHL right now is I've been following this since, I was 8 years old. So, going on, 20 years now. I've been watching this game since like 66, 67. So, and what I'll tell you, I literally cannot remember a time when there was this much young talent, as good as this talent is in the league right now. Guys like Connor Bedard, Macklin Celebrini, Cutter Gauthier. Every team virtually has one of these young kids or more. The Islanders have one in Matthew Schaefer. There's somebody with every team. If you're not a hockey fan, now is the time to jump on board and start paying attention because the game is really, really taking a step forward with the young talent. And look, there was a time, obviously, Lemieux, Gretzky, the whole bit, and when they were kids. But there wasn't the volume of elite level talent that we're seeing right now in the league. And I think, to be honest with you guys, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that a lot of these kids are coming out of U.S. colleges. Celebrini certainly did. Frank Nazar did with the Blackhawks. Bedard did not, but Schaefer did not. But still, I think that competition is forcing players to get better. And obviously, the game's just gotten better. And right now, we're really, if you're a hockey fan, you really enjoy it. You turn on almost any team, and you're going to see some kid who's going to bring you out of your seat in a hurry. And it's just a good time for the NHL.
Roger, I was fortunate enough to be on a couple of weeks ago when Tom Lemaine was with you, who covers the Flyers and has for, 35 years now, 40 years. Yeah. So I didn't have a chance to hear what he had to say about some of the talent. But the Flyers have been saying, we're going to come, we're going to change, we're going to get better. But they haven't made the move yet.
Well, I think it will come. I really do. He's very high on the goal tender and a number of the players. But I think with these young players in the NHL, I mean, what a great marketing opportunity there is now, again, for the NHL. And I will tell you what I see in this area, and who knows if they'll get another team or not with the new facility that's being planned. But I will tell you, I go by, there's two big ice facilities, one not far from me at all, and the other one's a little further away. Every time I drive by there, the parking lot, which is extensive, is packed. And then I talk to parents and also students, especially in high school, that are playing on ice hockey teams. And they're planning on going to college and playing ice hockey. So, I mean, here everything, a lot of football and basketball, but ice hockey is big here in the Atlanta area. You have the Gladiators minor league team, which, gets a fairly amount of draw. It probably, in the 5,000-6,000 range. But I just think hockey is going to just get bigger and bigger. And I think that when you get these young people, young players coming out of the South, that there haven't been many in the past, but this is like a big move in the NHL and hockey in general now.
Roy, what about that? You've been here during the transition all the way from when the Lady First were established. How about that? How about all of a sudden, Florida, whether it be, Tampa or whatever, but I mean, the South has really developed to be a hockey center.
Yeah, it really has. And it's a real interesting dynamic how it happened. Because let's face it, I mean, the Lightning, they muddled along for several years. But then when Jeffrey Vinik came in as the owner, I mean, they really focused on how to build a hockey team. And they came up with the blueprint that everybody's following now. They just happened to, it took them some time. And when they brought in Steve Yzerman, who was part of all those, the great teams in Detroit, he basically built it the same way that Detroit built its championship clubs. And what that meant was
70.
You had the dynamic, scorers
Brady's
and
old boss
guys, guys like Kucherov, Point, guys who could score for you, Stamkos. But you also had the guys who were, willing to go in there and get their noses dirty over
he
the
didn't
corners,
get his $100
stand in front of the net, take a beating, and get one of those, what they call garbage goals, or
so
playing in the paint and
destroy his card.
When it worked for the Lightning,
and
everybody
he asked his new boss,
and it helped.
And the guy went to bat for him.
That
and made 9
Tampa
phone calls.
And Miami are a
and
couple places
he's going to get his card tomorrow.
Would love to go there, and so you don't have a hard time, drawing free agents to you. And if you draft right and get a couple of players right, well, things can go your way. And again, Florida basically just took the same blueprint that Tampa used and actually kind of perfected it. They modified it just a little bit. Make sure they got some key players that fit that system. Guys like Kachuk, obviously. Two-way players like Barkov, a magnificent goaltender in Bobrovsky. And then, they're the best team in the league. And what's funny is that, it's the teams in Canada that are really kind of still trying to play what was an old 80s style, really. The kind of run and gun style. I mean, that's still what you see in Edmonton. Still what you see in Toronto. And, to some degree, still what you see in Montreal a little bit. Montreal a little bit better, but they've been slow to just, kind of pick up. And part of it, granted, there's a reason for it. When you're paying as much money in a cap era as you are to, guys like Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, and Toronto, you're paying that money to Mitch Marner or John Tavares and Austin Matthews. You have a hard time bringing in some of the guys who are going to, be the glue guys. And we talked about it last week, with Andre Palat, those types, and Yanni Gord coming back to the Lightning. Those kind of guys are really important. They're almost.
Hey, Frank.
Hey, Daryl, how you doing?
Pretty good.
Good, good. Put your mic live and let everybody know that you're here.
Okay.
We're just finishing up with Roy Cummings.
And come playoff time, it really hurts. Because let's face it, that's exactly what allowed Florida to win last year. They were losing some of that. They go out and they get Brad Marchand. So, and that's why they kept him this year. And I still think you'll hear from Florida at the end of the year if Chuck and, Barkov come back. So that's really the difference. Tampa just happened to be fortunate enough to, in a community where, people were just happy to see the game. There wasn't the pressure to win immediately. They were able to take their time building the team the way they knew it needed to be built in order to be long-lasting and consistent as a contender, and it paid off. And now other teams that are smart enough and capable enough are going on following the same blueprint, the same pattern.
Well, I know we're going here, there, and everywhere tonight, different directions, but I didn't want to get through the first half hour without at least bringing up college basketball. We were hopeful having Fran Dunphy on with us this evening, former coach at Penn, former coach at Temple, former coach at LaSalle, just one of the great people in college basketball. And Roger, they're playing Villanova tonight, and Fran has decided, even though he stepped down and retired at the end of last year, he's sitting on the bench with the team tonight against Villanova. And so it's a big night for LaSalle and for Fran and for Philadelphia Big Five basketball.
Well, it sure is, and I'm watching the game. Right now it's 17-14. Villanova, they got off to a great start, but LaSalle's come back. But in the stands, Hall of Famers, Jay Wright, okay, got his Villanova jacket, all the accessories. Speedy Morris got the LaSalle accessories on, cap, looks good for his age, okay? And there's so many people that are there tonight up at LaSalle on the 15th and Alney Avenue. Yeah, right off the subway. It's just amazing when you grow up in that area, like we did, three of us, and then Frank's school, St. Joe's. But to see this, what really amazes me is the entire Villanova staff is back in the old days, suits and ties. Maybe maybe it's going to come back. COVID's in the past, in the rearview mirror, and maybe it's time to get everybody back wearing suits on the bench.
Well, of course, we've talked to Fran about it, and we've talked as a group, and I know Roy is as familiar as any of us. Recruiting today, whether it's basketball, whether it's football, I mean, it's a different game. And the small schools like LaSalle, St. Joe's, those teams are going to have all kinds of difficulty being competitive in the big picture. In the big picture, and really in football the same way. The smaller schools are getting backed off. It's a very difficult situation right now. So is this pro sports or is this college sports? Roy?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's hard to really tell the difference anymore because of the NIL and all that. So, but I'll say this, traditional basketball schools, Gonzaga, LaSalle, as you said, Loyola, places like DePaul in Chicago, I think they're still going to be okay because, they're still going to get their money. And look, the basketball, the point guard for the basketball team is not going to get what the quarterback or the running back for the football team is going to get. At least not quite. But I still think that the traditional college basketball schools, the heavyweights that are smaller schools and just primarily basketball schools, I still think they're going to be okay because they've got the tradition. I mean, what kid wouldn't want to go to Gonzaga? What kid wouldn't want to go to LaSalle or DePaul or Loyola? I think the kids want to go there. If you look at Kentucky, it's still a basketball school. Sure, the football team's gotten a little bit better. They've had some success of late, but it's still a basketball school. And I don't think that changes. Same with Duke. I don't think that changes for now. But you're right, it could because money's involved. And again, it's going to come down to what do the boosters want to give to the program to make it competitive? And is the coach willing to, kind of play the game of NIL? I mean, we saw what happened with Clemson in college football, where they didn't want to, and now they're struggling as a result of it. If there's a basketball program out there that's, kind of in the same boat, I don't know it, but it's very possible that there is someone. But they may struggle themselves, and before they figure out this is how we have to play the game now. So yeah, the line is blurred, no doubt. It's unfortunate, but I don't know that means the game will be worse. At the end of the day, college football is a better game now. Not necessarily because of NIL, but certainly because of expansion of the major program or the major conferences. And it wouldn't surprise me to see that college basketball follow the same pattern. I think that could happen.
Well, we'll see. It's interesting. You mentioned it, and of course, everybody mentions every year. And I was always amazed all the year I was working in college basketball and what Gonzaga is able to do. And this year, they wrote them off again. If you looked at the preseason choices, they were down like 28th, 29th, 30th. They come out of the gate red hot, winning teams by 20 and 30 points. And, and here's this guy from nowhere. You look at it, he still looks like a kid, even though he's probably, got to be 55 or so now. But, I mean, he still looks like a young guy. And somehow he finds these European players or American players that are unscouted. And all of a sudden, this team's right back in the hunt again.
Yeah, and that's that's part of it. Look, you still have to recruit, and I still think at the end of the day, the teams, no matter what the sport is, that recruit the best, and I'll leave you guys with this, the teams that recruit the best in college sports are still going to, be head and shoulders above everybody else. Granted, money's going to be passed around. It's going to bring certain players in that are going to make a difference with the team. But, with football in particular, I don't know that one player outside of a quarterback makes that much of a difference. And in basketball, it could be more, but still, it comes down to recruiting. And if you can get out there and beat the bushes and recruit, it's still going to give you a big leg up.
Hey, Roy, before you go, I got a quick question. The reason is that I see a lot of girls playing ice hockey. I had one in Pennsylvania, 6th grade, that they say was phenomenal. I wanted to go to see her, but she got a concussion and she was out of action. Do you think, it may not be in my lifetime, that there will be a professional women's hockey league like the WNBA? Nobody thought that would really make it 20 years ago. I think it was when they started, right? But you think we'll see that sometime in the future?
Well, Roger, I'm happy to tell you that there is one, and it's called the Women's Professional Women's Hockey League, and it's there, and it's obviously it's not as popular, anywhere near as popular as the NHL or even the WNBA. It's a bit of it's a minor league.
Where is it located?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
I believe Seattle is where the headquarters might be, but there is a league. There is a league.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, and you're right. More and more girls and women are looking to play the game because the game is spread throughout the country, and it's gaining in popularity everywhere. I mean, you'd watch any NHL game, and I got to believe that I don't know the actual numbers, but I got to believe that at worst it's a 40-60 split, women versus men in the stands. I think women love the game because it's a beautiful game to watch, and so many women are drawn to it and they want to play it just like the kids, just like boys do. So the game is growing. The success of the women's hockey team here in the U.S., much like the success of the women's soccer team, and obviously the success of the Canadian team, has created a bit of a groundswell of support for those the women's programs, and they're starting to develop now in clubs and schools around the country, in both countries. And I think it's going to continue to happen. I really do. And you can. She wasn't the only person, obviously, but way back in the day when Phyllis Esposito brought Manon Rhéaume in to play goal for the Lightning in an exhibition game. It was a publicity stunt, but you know what? It sparked a movement, and that movement is slowly gaining steam. And so women's hockey is it's a big thing. And if you turn on the NHL Network, every so often, it's not a regular thing, but certainly when there's a big game, World Championships, things like that, they'll show the U.S. games, U.S. Russia games, things like that. So game for women definitely growing, and Roger, just glad to know it has happened in your life.
Yeah, I met the twins that were on that championship Olympic team. I guess that was probably 2 Winter Olympics ago.
Yeah,
that they were on there.
Yeah. Well, Roy, thank you once again. Roy, as always, everything we touch on, we always get a little more information from you when you're with us. And thank you so very, very much. We'll look forward to next Wednesday night as well in Tampa, Florida.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate
Have a good
it.
Right. Before
Happy Thanksgiving, guys.
before you go, Roy.
Same to you. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family.
Before you go, Roy.
Myself and Roy Cummings in Tampa. We're going to get down to Darryl Ledbetter in Atlanta, right close to where Roger is. And, of course, another. Roger, first of all, we're going from one Hall of Famer with Roy to another Hall of Famer. Mr. Ledbetter is right on the front sheet now.
That's it. He is. And he's following such pretty bad football sometimes. Right, Darryl?
Yeah, hey, Roger. 3-7 football team right now. We hunkering down for another long season in the ACL.
Yeah, and I just heard this afternoon what Penix is going to have the full surgery on the partial ACL, but he's going to have the full surgery, and that's a 9-month recovery, probably at least, right?
Yeah, I think 9 and 12 is realistic. They're trying to say 9 to give people hope that he'll be back for the beginning of the season, but with those knees and his injury history, they probably can't rush him back.
Let's just say at the outset, Darryl has been installed in the National Football League Hall of Fame, and we are always happy to have him join us down there in Atlanta. We talk about the Falcons every now and then, maybe every 4 or 5 weeks. Sometimes the Falcons are up. Roger is very encouraged. Sometimes the Falcons are down. Roger is not very encouraged. But fortunately, we have a Hall of Fame reporter that keeps on an even keel. So, Darryl, where do we stand in Atlanta?
Yeah, moving forward, they're going to give the ball over to Kirk Cousins, who started out pretty hot last year. They don't really have a formidable schedule. The Saints then, and they got the Saints twice left on their schedule, the Jets, and Tampa Bay, Rams in Seattle, and there's another one in Arizona. So, if they at least are functional, they should be able to win 4 of those games. But that only gets you to 7-7. It's the other 3 games you're going to have to beat Tampa Bay, the Seattle, or the Rams. So, they did beat Buffalo early in the season before going on this 5-game losing streak. So they're just trying to recapture a little bit of magic that they had earlier in the season.
Roger?
Well, they've lost some games like the last one, OT, and they changed kickers. And, it's just been one thing after another because there's been such close games that, we all thought that they were going to win the game, and they lost a couple of them. It was shocking in some ways. I wanted to ask you because, we all want Arthur Blank to get a Super Bowl. I know many of us do. And, you're around him when he's available. Does he talk much about the team at all anymore, or just really in the background?
Yeah, he's really in the background. This new PR regime kind of took him out of the spotlight for us. Don't let us talk to him after the games. Even when We know he wants to. So you kind of got to go backdoor channels to try to get things from him. But it's been he wants to win, but he's meeting with the coach. He's meeting with the coaches and his people every Monday. The one thing he said he wanted to do was build a sustainable winning franchise, and he cited the Patriots, the Steelers, and Green Bay. But he's not operating like none of those teams. The owner gets out of the way and lets the football people do all that stuff. So, he's saying one thing and, doing another. So, the Steelers don't follow their coach. They stay within their system. They keep building. Green Bay never has a problem at quarterback. They transition. The CEO stays out of the way. And the GM runs the football team. And the coach is coach. So he has, in New England, same deal. Belichick, now Vrabel's in control. Bob Kraft, he's not having meetings with him, going over plays and stuff. So he said he wanted to build a sustaining winning franchise, but he's trying to build the football team like he built Home Depot, and the football business is not as kind.
So let me ask you this. We've had so many guests on talk about the National Football League, and we start doing the exhibition season, and we keep on going week after week after week. It seems to me that they're having trouble right now sustaining. This thing about competition, everybody's going to be equal competition. I think they're losing themselves a little bit right now. How do you judge the league now, competitive-wise, to maybe 10 years ago or 8 years ago?
The level of play is not as good. Simple fact that starting with the 2011 CBA, they pretty much don't practice anymore. There's less hitting, a lot of preparation, a lot of walkthroughs. So what we're seeing on Sundays are teams that are not prepared to play football. You got a lot of missed tackles. Mm-hmm. You're still seeing procedural penalties. 10 games into the season, 12 men on the field, offsides. Just real sloppy brand of football. But the fans keep watching it, so they don't seem to care about the quality of play because the viewers, keep turning in at record numbers.
Roger, and buying paraphernalia more than ever. There was one of the national known or announcers was talking about Veterans Day. They made a big deal out of Veterans Day, but he said, in his opinion, what it was to sell a different line of merchandise, NFL merchandise. And, that could be. And I think, everything's the money, the international games now. And I know you were in Berlin. I saw that, when you got there. And, what was that like? To make that trip and to see the game there.
Yeah, it was eye-opening. I've been to London 3 times, but the German fans know their American football a little bit better because they had the games over there in the 90s in the America Bowl game. So, yeah. But the merchandise is real. Wherever they opened the store up, it was sold out. The Falcons had their own store, and they ran out of stuff, so they had to go get more stuff. So, teams are going to be going over there on a more frequent basis, that's for sure.
Carol, going back to your statement a moment ago, and I could not agree with it more. I don't know that I've ever seen at this level of competition as many unforced offsides, as many illegal motions. We're talking down on a 3-yard line, the 5-yard line, the 1-yard line. And, how many times can you turn on a pro football game now and see illegal motion called? It's unbelievable.
Yeah, you're starting to slide more towards entertainment, where, the guys get a turnover. They want to go down and run halfway down the field and do a choreographed dance. I'm like, you're going to be tired in the fourth quarter when it's time to stop these guys.
Well, how about the other night? Guy slides down the goalpost. It's a touch and go game. One point could mean winning and losing and getting into the playoffs, and you're jumping on the goalpost, sliding down. And they, at least I will say, at least they did call unsportsmanlike conduct for that one. But 90% of the stuff they just let go by.
Yeah, they did. They did call. Well, Jameson did cost Detroit an extra point in the Philly game. So that's what I'm talking about. I mean, like, guys seem to be more concerned about, themselves and putting on a show than, the Falcons got the lead in the fourth quarter twice. Last two games, but then the defense is too tired probably from running down the field celebrating turnovers.
Yes, right. Yeah, because you're right. In that Detroit game, that was a 15-yard penalty, and the guy missed the kicker missed the extra point.
Yep.
Yeah, keeping into that win, you didn't need that 15-yard penalty at that time.
That's right. Yeah, but you're right. Everybody seems to want to put on their own show instead of just get the score, get the points, go back, get to the bench. Let's go. Next play, right? Let's go.
Yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Hopefully things will get better here down the stretch as the playoff races start to shape up. And maybe the players will be more focused on their football and not so much on their celebrations trying to get on ESPN.
John, let me ask you this, because you've been in a lot of the big-time operations. First of all, you're in Atlanta right now, but you spent a great deal of time in Green Bay before that. Was the attitude between the coaches, the players, the management of the teams, the fans, a different perspective where they didn't want to see that? They wanted to see football, and they wanted to see the way the game should be played, or is it the same everywhere?
No, it kind of started in Green Bay with the Lambeau Leap. And everybody's like, oh, that's great. Let them leap in the stand. With Leroy Butler and all them. And so then everybody else wanted to start celebrating too. And we ended up with the No Fun League, and then they finally caved in. But the fans in Green Bay are very serious about their football. The management up there, they have to report to the shareholders. And they've done a good job of hiring head coaches too, so that's been pretty different.
Roger?
Yeah, and they've also had several general managers and presidents. I remember for a number of years, Bob Harlan was there, and then the guy, the former Redskin, player. That was there. And, the other thing is, I'll tell you a quick story, because I know Sarah Quick very well, for in the PR department at the Packers, and consistency, stability. And I sent her some pictures. There's a little restaurant, and it's out here off of 306 as you're going towards Gainesville. And I went in there after subbing at East High School one day. He's got like all this Packer stuff there, Daryl. He's from up in Wisconsin. So I sent it to her. I said it was amazing. I had never been in there. I had no idea. But I was going to go to a ball game after I was doing the flag football game after that. So I went there to get something to eat. It's down the road. And I was amazed. I mean, I did not expect to see a huge Packer display in Cumming, Georgia. But at least it's a pro football fan, right?
Yeah, no doubt. They're worldwide. And what was beautiful when they were being resurrected in the early 90s is that, they kind of started it when they would show up at the other team's stadium, because they couldn't get into Lambeau. But, when they were playing the St. Louis Rams, they can go buy their tickets there and pack it out, which we see, now on a weekly basis at the Falcons Stadium. So, the Packer fans are everywhere. They love their team, and they will travel.
Carol, we'll talk about the Packers coming up this weekend against the Vikings, but all conversation today around the football world has been, where are the Chiefs going to go from here? Is Andy Reid going to be able to regroup this team with his quarterback, or is he going to miss the playoffs for the first time in a long time?
Yeah, it doesn't look good. They've lost 5 games, one-score games, 0-5. And last year, they were 12-1, 12-0 in those one-score games. So this is the analytics people would call it a regression to the mean or moving back to the middle. And so unless they start playing better football, they're not going to make it in the AFC West. They lost a big game to Denver last week. And, that's the new bully in the AFC West.
How about those Packers now? They're 6.5-point favorite this week over the Vikings, but the Packers have found themselves at times struggling.
Yeah, they have some really bad losses this year to the Browns and to the Panthers.
Right.
The playing at a consistent level has cost them as the Bears have, at least moved past them in the early part of the season. But, they do have, the talent to get it quick back up. The big thing is the running game has been kind of spotty. Josh Jacobs starts to show his age a little bit. And they haven't been consistent in running the ball to set up their deep passing attack. And, they'll have to find that running game if they're going to get moving here in the second half of the season.
Hall of Famer Darrell Ledbetter, our guest right now down in Atlanta, Georgia. And Roger, you're up.
Yeah, I wanted to get to about the end of the print edition of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution at the end of the year. I was just thinking, Darrell, if the Falcons had the season that we all expected, which was really to have a great season, would they have continued printing the paper into January, and if they went into February, was there any discussion about that? And what is exactly transpiring now, since it's only about 5-6 weeks from the end of December?
Yeah, I wasn't privy to those discussions. It's pretty much a hard stop is what we have been told as employees, and we'll move toward being a more digital platform. The other one would be, Georgia is, in the college football playoff contention again in the national championship. What are you going to do when they win it? And you're not printing any newspapers. So, or if they come close to winning. So, and Georgia Tech's pretty good too. So, this is a hard stop business decision. And we're doing more reflective stuff here in the last 5 weeks. I mean, I got to do something on my, on my own career for the paper and, high points, low points, and so forth. And so everybody's kind of rallying to make sure the paper goes out in style. And we'll get to the other side of this in January and see what that digital operation looks like.
And there, your youngsters are doing fine, but they're a little bit different side of the entertainment industry. Not the newspaper. They got a little TV background too. So, how are the kids doing?
Yeah, they're doing great. Danielle is anchoring the weekend news in Nashville at NBC, and Dion is in Washington, D.C. working with her marketing firm and doing some entertainment on the side. So DJing around the country on the weekends and so forth. So we'll be all gathering in Nashville for Thanksgiving next week.
Oh, that'll be great. That's great. It's interesting, with YouTube TV, you can get all these other stations from around the country. And I know one of the stations that I have on my list is from Nashville. I'll have to see whether they have the NBC, because then I'll watch her on the weekends. Sometimes you learn more from some of the out-of-town stations than you do from your local station, But the other thing I was thinking about is with WANF now doing more and more sports. I could see you getting involved with doing some work there. I think it'd be great for the station with everything they're doing, because they have really changed everything since they lost CBS.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. In the off season, because during the season, I don't have time So,
Right.
so really check it out. But I've been hearing great things about them. I've been seeing more different people that practice every day. So yeah, that's a good thing that they're probably filling the holes with digital coverage that the newspaper will be giving up.
Yes, it's a sad sight. Go around the country. We talked to so many people, not only, for instance, Roy Cummings that's on the show, and, they canceled the paper in Tampa. You go around the country, you look at the cancellations, and people no longer read the newspaper, and I think it's a little unfortunate because I just don't think you get the same type of information when you look at it. I'm not trying to downplay the TV at all, but you only get brief. You don't get the real information that you want to get when you read the newspaper.
Yeah, no doubt. That's something that we're gonna have to figure out moving forward in the digital era, is how to get real detailed and heavily reported information, especially on our governments and how they're spending and handling our public dollars and so forth. So we have to come up with a new way of doing business in this new era.
Roger?
Well, if everything works out like the plan with the new big complex that is expected to be built in South Forsyth, almost at the Fulton County line, I'll tell you, I think there's going to be a lot of sports activity there. They expect to have a hockey team, an NHL team, and I think maybe then the newspaper will be sorry that they gave up the print edition, because you can always do things, with the print edition. You can do things on the computer too, quick. But people, if they get a print edition and pick it up, they're going to read it. That's the way I've always looked at it. And I miss a lot of papers that you just can't get anymore. You got the AJC, and which is wonderful, And when I lived here in 71, 72, I used to get the Constitution in the morning and the Journal at night on my way home. I couldn't get enough of it.
Yeah, definitely an era going by. I used to deliver the Cleveland Plain Dealer, and then Cleveland Press would come out in the afternoon. So, of course, the Press died before the Plain Dealer did. And, now I think they're just printing a couple days a week up there. Really thought that we'd keep the Sunday edition and maybe some of the daily editions. But, yeah, we're not. So, that I know I was in San Francisco, and I was, trying to find the San Francisco Chronicle in the airport, and it wasn't there yet.
Oh, my gosh. If it's not the airport, they're in trouble.
Well, Roger and I have talked about it because, I've been a great Post reader all my life. And fortunately, where I've been in Sarasota and so forth, we can always get it. But as Roger says, there's a Post, a New York Post, and you can't get it down where you are.
No, you can't at all. You can't get it even if you go to the local distributor.
Hey, Frank, how are you?
Hey, how are you, Mike?
Doing good.
Good.
Doing good.
Good. Before I forget, I want to wish you and your family a happy Thanksgiving. We'll be off next week.
I appreciate it. The same with you.
How's
same
it?
with you. It's right on us, isn't it?
Yes, it is. How's that beautiful baby coming along?
Oh, he's doing well.
Good.
He's doing well.
Good.
So everyone's doing well.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead.
Exciting.
Got to merge in.
They weren't able to stand up to the Bulldogs in between the hedges there.
I want to tell you something. I've always been and continue to be a coach's reporter. And I want to tell you, he coached one terrific game. You talk about an offensive coach coming up with that onside kick, which really put the game away. I mean, there was no chance Texas would make any kind of a comeback after that onside kick. I mean, you could just feel You can just feel the air go out of the bag.
Yeah, that was a great call, that Coach Kirby. Smart, and he knew that if he didn't get it, he'd be the dumbest coach in the his boys got it for him, executed, and made that gamble pay off.
Boy, did it ever. Did it ever, Roger?
You're either the smartest or the dumbest, depending on the result of that call.
Yep, no doubt.
It's interesting. All these, we're going to talk about all these college coaches and the moves and everything. But, you don't hear anything about Kirby ever leaving Georgia, do you?
No, he's highest paid coach in the land. Highest paid employee in the state. So whatever he wants, they're taking care of him, and he's suddenly, starting the program up to a higher level from which Mark Rick had it.
Hey, Roger, were you aware that Kirby gets $13.5 million a year plus benefits plus, and that his buyout is $144 million?
I didn't know it was that high. Did you know that, Darryl, that his buyout?
Yeah, 14. I didn't know about the buyout, but I knew it was at $14 million. Right at $14 million per year, which I do believe is top in the college range.
Yeah, that's why.
I can't understand how these schools are putting these long-term contracts on these coaches. With we talked about it in baseball, we talked about it in a lot of sports, but how can you hire a coach, for 10 years like Belichick or I don't care who it may be, and then you got to have a payoff. Kelly, the other one in LSU, and he's got a $52 million payout. I mean, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, but it's monopoly money. They're making all this money from TV now, and the coaches know how much it is. So the schools don't have to sign those deals, but they're doing it anyway. But the money is there because you see all the games on TV and all the naming rights and branding rights. They make all their money before the games even come on.
Hey, Don, we're joined by Mike Schultze. He'll have more information on that.
All right, Mike Schultze is going to join us from the NCAA and from the Relinquist Bowl. We'll talk to him in just a second. I want to thank Darryl Ledbetter, Hall of Fame writer down there in Atlanta, Georgia. Covers the Falcons as well as many other teams in the National Football League. And Darryl, once again, thank you very much for a very informative half hour.
Well, thank you so much. You guys take care and have a happy Thanksgiving.
You too, D-Lad. We love you. Take care. Be safe.
Love you too. Bye now.
Thank you. All right, we switch over now, and we go back to Tampa, Florida. Mike Schultze, of course, has been with us many, many years over the course of time. We talked the last couple of weeks about those unbelievable contracts that the coaches are getting and that the schools and the booster clubs are having to pay off. And it's not changing. It's getting higher and higher all the time, isn't it, Mike?
Yeah, most things that way, but it's what the market bears, I guess. So it is interesting. I read some stories about how so many of these big jobs are represented by the same sports agents, and so you might have. I'm not sure if there's a conflict of interest in there or something, because you'll have a coach that's they're negotiating to buy out from one place, and at the same time you're trying to help that school or find another coach that or the new coach they want to bring in. A good example. I don't know if this is true, but if Lane Kiffin seems to be wanted by a lot of schools. If he's represented by the same, for an agent, and then you've got, he's negotiating with, Mississippi on keeping him, but then he also might be, negotiating with Florida or somebody else, in luring them away. So it's like, I don't know. It's a crazy world.
Mike Schultze, and of course, Mike, we talk about the Relinquist Bowl week in and week out, and usually in the middle of our conversation, we go back to some of the things relevant to the Relinquist Bowl. But let's start at the top. Mike, you've been there so many years now, and we've talked about the difference in selections and what's happening. But it's becoming more and more popular. You've had great success with it over the last 30-plus years. And it's just getting better and better every particular year. And, of course, I know you're off and running now, getting to look forward to Christmas Eve Day.
New Year's Day.
Yeah, New Year's Eve. Yeah.
New Year's Eve Day.
Yeah. No, it's obviously a very exciting period right now as we're getting into the final 2 weeks of the regular season, which is a sad thing if you think about that. But it also just means that, it's really competitive and really interesting to see how the end of the season is going to shape up, who's going to make the conference championship game, for each of the conferences, and who's going to make the playoff, of course, and then of course the bowl games. So these last 2 weeks, they're very, very important, and not just for the top 10 teams or the teams that are on the bubble for the playoff, but they're also very, very important for a lot of the other schools that have winning records or almost have winning records right now, and have a chance to go to a bowl game or go to a really nice bowl game. So right now, all those teams are playing to get in the best bowl game they can get into, or in some cases get in a bowl game. So there's a lot on the line for a lot of these matchups out here, even if they're not like the top 10 teams everybody's talking about.
Hey, Mike, could you let me ask? I want to ask Mike a question. Why did the ACC go down to 9 games? Do you have any idea?
Say it again.
The ACC announced that they're going down. They're going to shrink their schedule to 9 games within their league, which alleviates Notre Dame and Stanford.
I'm sorry, Frank. I can't. For some reason, you're not coming through very good. You said something about 9 games.
Yeah.
The ACC. They play a 9-game. A 9-game schedule.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, the SEC, the Big Ten's already got a 9-game conference schedule. The SEC voted recently, starting next year, to go to a 9-game conference schedule. Mm-hmm. And so I think the idea is for the ACC to sort of follow suit so that everybody's on more of a level playing turf.
They did a big thing last night on the ESPN about Notre Dame, and I know you guys are both close followers of Notre Dame, especially Frank. And, they lost those first 2 games at the beginning of the season, and they looked at where Miami is in their standings, and they've lost 2 games, and where Notre Dame is in their standings. If Notre Dame were to lose 3, they thought it would be almost fait accompli that Notre Dame still would have a chance to go into the playoffs, where they thought Miami would not have a chance if they lost their 3rd game of the season, only because of the great strength of North Carolina. Of Notre Dame. Now, do you believe that? How do you believe that's going to work out if you lost the 3rd game the way they are right now?
Well, I don't know. I'm not part of that. I have no idea how that'll affect. I think the issue right now, if you look at it, and the thing with rankings and polls is that I've always sort of been against having any kind of polls early in the year, only because you're just guessing on where to start somebody. It's like a game board, right? It's like where you start, can determine where you are at the end of the game as much as anything. When you're not everybody starting on the same square, and so Notre Dame started pretty high to begin with. They dropped a couple games early, but then they've had a chance now to win 7, 8 games in a row.
Right.
So they worked their way up the ladder, right? Miami was a little bit different there, and I think the problem there now is that you're looking at the rankings right now. Miami is below Notre Dame. Now, if they both lose the 3rd game, then it's a different deal. But from where they're positioned right now in the other games that have to be played, and you can sort of guesstimate how certain, some point along the way, some of these teams are going to have to lose that are at the top part, top 10 or so because they got to play a conference championship game. If they're playing each other, somebody's got to lose, right? So I think the short answer is that if Notre Dame wins out, they have a very good chance, based on where they're ranked right now, of not moving down and probably, maintaining a playoff berth. If they lose, however, they could drop very quickly right out of the playoff mix. So a third loss for them, I think, would really probably kick them out of the playoffs, depending on what happens around them. Miami is ranked lower, so they've got a more of a hill to climb. And I'm not sure about I haven't really been able to figure out the ACC championship game scenarios, but I think because, and I could be wrong on this, I think someone was saying that because Miami has 2 losses in conference, that they don't really have a chance to get in the conference championship game, which in this case might hurt them, because if they did, then they, and they could then win that game and win the conference, and that automatically would put them in. So it's there's just a lot more to it than just straight wins and losses sometimes.
Roger?
Yeah, it is. I agree with you, Mike, totally. And they're talking about how important the Georgia Tech Georgia game will be at the end of the season, and because it could be if things progress as many expected, that if Georgia Tech was to win that game, they could be in the playoffs. What do you think about that?
Well, the issue then, because it's not a conference game, though, is losing that game from that perspective or winning doesn't really help them in the conference race to the championship game. So I guess a big part of their situation is any of these teams, you win your conference, you're in, right?
Yeah,
pretty much. But if you're trying to get in as an at-large, then it's a different story. And a win against Georgia obviously would be huge for them in the rankings to be able to move up there, and provided they didn't have to then turn around and essentially lose the conference championship game or even play in it. So I don't know that scenario with the ACC as to right now as to.
Well, Mike, the big thing is you can't lose that third game. I mean, regardless of where you stand right now, as everybody projects, because there's so many teams that nobody anticipated playing as well as they're playing. And so now you go down 3 games, and losing those first 2 games, as Notre Dame did, really put the pressure on the coaching staff and the players, which they have responded to terrifically. But at the same time, that pressure is not over.
No, it's never over, for sure. It is, generally speaking, over history, it's better to lose early than late. For ranking purposes, and so forth. So, because they did, you can climb your way back up. If you lose late, you don't have time to make your spot back up. So,
Frank, what's your thought, Frank?
Yeah.
My thought is that I like the way things are set up. I kind of have mixed feelings with the way the they can either drop so fast or not. Notre Dame now is at number 9. They would, if they was to be played tomorrow, they'd be playing Oregon, and the winner for that plays Ohio State. Now, either one of those teams are going to get eaten up by Ohio State. So I'm just in the middle of this whole thing.
Roger?
Yeah, well, I agree. I mean, if 3 losses, you are out, and I agree with Mike about it's better to lose early than late. But some of these teams that are in the last couple of weeks of the season, there's a lot on the line. And Mike, when do you folks, we talked about it in years going by, when do your folks start really going on the road to see potential participants in the bowl game?
Well, we decided a few years ago to not travel out until November because before November you don't really know who's good, who's not in most cases. So, and then we don't go to a lot of games. We go to a few games each week. Some of our people just more like ambassadors and all that. We've got people going to a couple games this week, I believe, but it's a little bit different now when that you have all the conference agreements and pick selections and all that kind of stuff. So it is good sometimes to go out and see some of the teams and really what you're looking at when you're doing that, if anything, really, and again, it's, whether we go or not doesn't mean that we're not interested or whatever, but is you sort of get a feel for the energy around the team, the fans and that type of thing, right? And how excited they are about the team, and which could potentially extend to them, their fans wanting to come down and go to our bowl game if we were to select the team. So, but aside from that, it's really just more of a courtesy visit kind of thing, and we just sort of send them out as ambassadors to show our support for the partnership that we have with the Big Ten and the SEC.
And as you say, it's all a matter of energy and selling tickets. Is this team going to be able to bring X number of alumni and students to the game?
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's part of it. That's not the whole thing. I mean, that's not the only thing. I mean, ideally you want, the point is that you want, it's a lot more fun to have people at a party who want to be there, right?
Right.
So, if the fans aren't excited about the program and the team's not excited about coming to your bowl game, well, it's probably not the best selection to bring them in, because you want teams and fan bases that are excited about the opportunity to be in our bowl game, to guess come to the community and spend money and such and all that, but also to sort of provide some energy for the fans locally, college football fans, have the chance to see those teams play, and it just makes for a better experience for everybody. And we've never really had much trouble in regards to that. Probably no trouble really in regards to the teams. The teams that come in to our game always are ready to play and always are excited and passionate about playing a great game and playing against the opponent. And I think a big part of that is our Big Ten SEC matchup that we've had for so long. You get teams from those two conferences together, regardless of what kind of year they've had record-wise, and that's a huge deal for them and the coaches to win that game. And so they show up to play, and it shows. I mean, our games by and large have been very, very close throughout the entire 39 years that we've had the bowl game. So it's that part is always there. And then the fan bases, the fans that do come, they're very excited about being here. Obviously some years you're going to have more fans maybe travel than others, just based on the expectations that they had for the team that year and how excited they are about the future. So we're very excited. That 2 weeks we're going to know our teams. We've got some great potential teams out there that we're looking at that we think will be available to us potentially to choose from, and we're just excited to get to that point and then welcome the teams into town.
Roger?
Yeah, well, it'll be really a fun time when you do make the selection, and then all the activities that will be taking place during like a week leading up to the bowl game. Talk a little bit about that, Mike, because I know you've talked about the parades and the college bands and everything, but there really is a lot of activity surrounding the Tampa area during the bowl festivities of leading up to the game that week?
Yeah, we do a lot of events, pretty much events every day leading up to the game. The teams participate in some of the events where they'll go to Busch Gardens one day. They'll go out to Clearwater Beach along with the marching bands and cheerleaders that'll perform on the beach, and a big fun festival time on the beach. This year we're expanding the beach day event to have some friendly fan competitions at the beach, as well as we'll have the cheerleader tug of war and some other fun things like that. The parade the night before the game is always a lot of fun. Just a lot of neat things to entertain the fans that are in town, as well as local college fans, and expose them also to some of the great aspects of the community that we get to enjoy. Us residents who live here.
And also, one of the big things is that, as you said, we're working with the Big Ten and SEC, but at the same time, a lot of those schools are in a cold weather area, and so those not only their alumni but their students, they like to come down to Tampa, Florida, and celebrate New Year's in Tampa. So that's always a number one advantage for everybody.
Yeah, there's no question. We have such a dynamic and beautiful destination. There's a lot of other good ones out there with bowl games, but I'll tell you that I'm very biased, but I'll tell you that this is definitely one of the top destinations of any bowl game, bowl teams in the country that we have, with the beaches, the water, the bays, obviously the weather, and then just all the other dynamic aspects of this community for people who aren't familiar with it. I mean, Tampa has just really developed into a very exciting town with, for foodies, for nature lovers, for whatever. I mean, there's just so much going on. We have so many museums, just unbelievable museums and opportunities, whether it's outdoor activities or indoor theme parks, sports teams. We got Tampa Bay Lightning here. We'll have a couple games during that week. I mean, there's so much to see and do here, and typically just great weather. And so I mean, we sort of use the football in paradise tagline a lot in some of our marketing, because especially if you're coming from other parts of the country, especially ones that maybe have cold weather during that time of year. It's just like, if you're ever going to go to a bowl game, this is one that you cannot miss. And
Roger.
So that's sort of what we market, and I think people understand that.
Well, I can understand that, because there is so much to do there, and I guess they're still talking about building a new baseball stadium out there near the football stadium, and I mean, it's just more and more activity along that road.
Oh yeah, well, we have as you mentioned, we have Major League Baseball, NFL football, the Bucks. So Bucks will have a game a few days after our game this year, their final game of the season. Like you said, the Lightning are playing. And the Major League Baseball, the team here just changed ownership, which is going to be fantastic for the team. They're talking about where they want to build a new stadium, so they're looking at that right now, and we'll start working on that soon. And just so much going on here. No matter what aspect of life you're interested in, it's all right here, and so it makes this such a great destination to vacation, or to do for business or what have you. And it's one of the highest growth markets in the country right now, and has been the last few years. And so that, combined with with the game and all the other fun activities that we do, makes it a terrific spot to bring in the new year, as you mentioned, and see a great college football game.
Well, the interesting fact we talked early in our coverage of college football the first 3 weeks about the University of South Florida and how they had to get off to a good start. At least hopefully of winning 2 of those first 3, which they did. Most people thought they would come out of those first 3 at 1 and 2. They didn't. Came out 2 and 3, which was very encouraging. And they ran all the way up to when they got to Memphis because it looked like they were going to put themselves in a position to be in the playoffs in solid form. But they lost the Memphis game, and then they lost to Navy last week. And so it's now going to be very difficult for the University of South Florida to get into where they want to be, Mike.
Yeah, I haven't followed it that closely, but the key was always, of course, that they needed to win their conference championship, and the idea was that they could be the highest ranked conference champion, in the group of 5, or really now the group of 6 conferences that are outside the Power 4 conferences. So, so I'm not sure where they are in regards to still maybe having an opportunity to get in that conference championship game. I know a lot of these teams
very tough right now. Yeah. After losing to Memphis, and then they blew the big lead at Memphis, and then of course they lost to Navy by 1 point, I think, last week, which was really a very difficult loss.
Yeah.
But
they can't all everybody win. They can't all win. And they've done a great job there. The coach has done a great job. They have still a chance to finish out strong, and they're going to go to a good bowl game if they don't get into the playoffs. So it's they can't all. Not everybody can be in the playoffs. Not everybody can win all the top games.
Roger,
hey, Mike, we talked about everything. We talked all the way around about everything that's being done with the bowl. The only thing we haven't talked about is where they can get the tickets and when they're available.
There we go.
Yeah. Well, yeah, thanks for that. So actually our tickets are actually going on sale next week on November 23rd. They're going on sale. And let's see, is that right? I got to look at my calendar. I got to look at my calendar here. Hold on.
that's what happens when you go 34, 35 years. You got to look at the calendar.
I'm sorry. Next Monday, the 24th. I keep getting those dates mixed up. The 24th. So next Monday, coming up, the 24th, they go on sale at Ticketmaster. So, yep.
Roger?
Mike, I don't know about you, but I not only have a calendar in my phone, I also have a little booklet that I carry with me so that I don't forget certain things, like the old days.
Well, we've been throwing around so many different dates recently for different things between meetings and games and all this other stuff that I keep getting some of my dates mixed up. So I'm lucky I got the date on the day I'm on.
Hey, bud, how you doing?
Hello.
How you doing?
What's up? Good.
Okay, I'm gonna put your mic live, and I'll talk to you after the show.
Okay. What team has surprised you the most, and what team maybe has disappointed you in thoughts of the regular season?
Well, I think like probably everybody for the most part. I think it was surprising to me, not shocking, but the fact that that Indiana was able to maintain their Cinderella story from last year, because a lot of times that doesn't happen. And Vanderbilt, too, really. I mean, they both have had, exceptional seasons, so much higher, results than what, most people expect out of them from year to year. And yet they, not only, Vanderbilt did well last year, but they've actually, gotten even better. And then Indiana, they're even a better team than last year. Last year they got a lot of heat for not having a very good schedule, and this year their schedule is better, and they again they've actually improved off of last year, and so I think for a lot of people that's been surprising. Because in the past you'd have a year where somebody sort of pops up there that's an unusual, guest to the table, so to speak, and then but it's a 1 year and done kind of thing. And they actually look like they're building a situation where they're going to actually be able to be highly for future years as well. It's not just a flash in the pan. As far as disappointment, I don't look at that myself, but I know there's some teams that a lot of people felt like they were going to maybe have a better year this year, and they're finally going to get on track. I think about Auburn and Florida, and the fact that a lot of people felt like this was going to be the year that they were going to take another step forward, and it just didn't happen. And so obviously Penn State, that's been a tough situation. That's a surprising situation because everybody sort of they're picked second in the league or in the country.
Right.
Preseason, which again, preseason polls don't mean much, but so there's that, and obviously, I'm sure that's been a huge surprise to everybody. So yeah, it's just, but every year, there's surprises both ways every year. It's just that this year, the names of the teams that for the surprises are probably different than a lot of people would normally expect.
Roger, close us out for this half hour.
Speaking of Penn State, Mike, I heard today earlier that James Franklin signed at Virginia Tech, and I think that'll be very interesting to see how their fortunes are in the future after he's able to get his foot on the ground there.
Yeah, I think that's a great hire for them. It sounds like. I know. That's sort of been rumored for a while here. Pretty early on after he got fired, that was the name that popped up probably quicker than anywhere. And I think from a fit standpoint, I think that's probably a much better fit than say an LSU or Florida or Auburn for him. So I think that's it's going to be a good thing for Virginia Tech, and we'll give him a chance to sort of reset and see what he can do there. So that's good for both him and the school. Haven't really heard much speculation on Penn State, replacement or all that. Down here in the South, where everybody's talking about Florida and LSU and who they're going to get, and whether Lane Kiffin's going to stay at Ole Miss. Nobody seems to be worrying about some of the other schools that are out there, because there's a lot of other schools. Last I counted, there was with him taking that job. Last I count, there's still at least 9 Power 4 conference jobs open. And when you say you got Penn State, Florida, LSU, Auburn, Arkansas, and a few others, and you don't know if there's more to come. So it's going to be interesting because there's not a big a big cache of great coaches with huge winning records standing by to take all these jobs. Somebody's going to be super happy, and then everybody else, fan-wise, their expectation levels are going to be like, well, wait a second, where's our big name coach? There's not a line of big name coaches standing there to be selected. So
no question about that.
A lot more chairs than there are people to sit in them.
Well, Mike, thank you very much, and best of the happy Thanksgiving holiday to you and your family. When we get together next time, we'll know more about the ticket situation. We'll also know more about what it looks like for team-wise and so many other things going on with your Reliquous Bowl. So thank you so much, and we look forward to our next meeting and our next conversation.
Sounds great. Thank you, guys. Have a great week ahead.
Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family, Mike. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
You too. Take care now. Bye.
Oh, let me check with Frank and see if Mike Zimzak and Doug Hamilton are ready yet. If they are, we'll switch over to that direction. Mike Zimzak, of course, in the Washington, Baltimore area, and then Doug Hamilton, our PGA professional, is always in the Baltimore area, covering those Ravens as they keep winning now. What do we got, Frank?
Well, the professor has not shown up yet. But the honorable doctor of golf is with us.
Okay. I just wanted to say one thing. You know, the basketball game's been on. Don and I have been watching LaSalle Villanova. I noticed, Don, they acknowledged that Bernadette McGlade, who is the commissioner of the A-10, you were doing Temple when she started.
Oh, correct.
And I mean, what a history she's had with the A-10. And I mean, we used to go to the media day, and I go to the Big East media day. You know,
we're too. Valerie, of course, with the Big East now, was one of the first to be promoted to that kind of position. And as you mentioned, the A-10 did it even earlier than that, and she was really the strength of the A-10 during those days.
Absolutely. And her sister is Agnes Baronato, who was the great women's coach at Georgia Tech and then went to Pitt. And then she was up at Kennesaw State. But unfortunately, I was up there a couple of years ago because I've gotten to know her over the years at Tech, et cetera. And, of course, they're both from Gloucester, New Jersey. And the sisters, as I mentioned, and just great basketball people. But Agnes has had, send out prayers to her because she has had some health issues over the years, and she had to give up coaching. So anyway, it was good to see tonight that they acknowledged that, and with all the different various people from the universities that are in the stands. The thing that shocks me is there's so many empty seats in that arena tonight. I would have thought that this would have been a packed house.
I agree. That's a shame.
It is. I know if I was up there, I'd be there tonight. I can tell you that.
Well, it's I don't know. It's hard to judge why, people go or don't go. I mean, for instance, when Fran stepped down at the end last year, after all the years he had coached, as we mentioned at the top of the show, there was a virtual sellout then. But there were so many years at the Palestra. Palestra was basketball in the East. There was Madison Square Garden, and there was the Palestra. Now that's not the case anymore. I don't know what the support. I don't get to go there as often, obviously, but what the support of the student body is. Is there the same enthusiasm about games as there was, 50 years ago? No. It just isn't there. It just isn't there for a couple of reasons. One, unfortunately, the teams aren't as competitive as they were in those days. And as I mentioned at the end, at the top of the show, when you're trying to recruit against the major schools and your St. Joe's and your LaSalle, you got to have facilities. You got to have money. You got to have an alumni that's willing to put in a lot of time, effort, and energy and money to get you. They made the adjustment of going down, first of all, to the Spectrum, then also the Wells Fargo Center for big games. Villanova goes to all their big games at the Wells Fargo Center. And that's the only way you can do it. I mean, you can't compete at that level anymore.
Yeah.
No. And they have it. They talked about the old Tom Gola Arena because they've completely rebuilt the facility at LaSalle.
Right. And goal of goals. Yeah, boy. The zinc. Goal.
Yep. Hey, Don.
Chamberlain, Okay, didn't want to take anything away from Doug and Mike, but I just wanted to bring that point up about the Bernadette McGlade, the outstanding commissioner of the A-10, retiring, and we wish her well because she did a wonderful job, and she and her sister are just terrific basketball people.
Great. We had a chance to bring it up tonight on the show. You're right. Are two guys ready to go?
No, Doug's here. Mike hasn't made it yet. Go ahead. Let's go with Doug.
Let's talk about ball because right now, the football team, Doug, first of all, let me say this for those folks that are just joining us. PGA professional, master professional, not just a professional. Master professional in a very select group. And he has been involved in the golf world for a long, long time, but he also does a little work on the football front with flag football for the kids and a lot of other sports, but mainly follows those Baltimore Orioles and also the Ravens. So let's go to the Ravens first. And what do we got this week? Because they're on a little bit of a run now. They came back last weekend. Give us an update.
Yeah, I think we've mentioned kind of at the bottom of the barrel when they were 1-5, what the schedule looked like moving forward, and getting some of these guys back healthy, namely Lamar Jackson and the inner workings of their core group would provide them with a little bit of a softened schedule, the ability to get back in this race. That's exactly what's transpired over the last several weeks. I can tell you that watching the Ravens game this past Sunday, play the Browns. Those division games are always tough. The Browns just historically in Cleveland have played Baltimore as if it were their Super Bowl. And, for, nearly 3 quarters, the Ravens just couldn't get out of their own way. I mean, tipped passes that were interceptions and penalties and just all kinds of things that were shooting themselves in the foot. So, it was frustrating rather to watch the majority of that game, but to see the Cleveland Browns fans hooting and hollering and thinking they're going to beat us and then have us walk out of there with the win was pretty gratifying, from a divisional standpoint. And we'll look at the Jets this week and see. They're playing roulette with their quarterback. I think it's Tyrod Taylor. I think they're going to go with, and the Ravens defense is starting to play a little bit better. And once we get things moving here, hopefully we can get a win this week and look forward to Thanksgiving.
Roger?
Well, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. A lot of people are saying that, the Ravens now could be a dark horse for the rest of the season. They seem to have turned it around, as you said and Don said. But, what's sports talk in Baltimore? I think you mentioned it's the fan, right?
Yeah. I'm not really in my car as much as I used to be this time of season. So I haven't really paid much attention to, local media sources. And keep in mind, obviously, that living in the Frederick area, I get a lot of Washington-based. So it's a lot of Commanders and, different things up here. Whatever I do see, I think I follow mostly on either Twitter or whatever, the things that pop up. And, I don't know. I think there's cause, obviously, for optimism on the heels of winning, a bunch of games in a row here. But I don't think the Ravens have put together a complete game yet this year. So that's good news, I think, in terms of what the future might hold. Lamar Jackson did not look very good this past Sunday at all. I don't know if that's lingering knee issues that he's had for a couple of weeks, that he's gotten a couple maintenance days off with regard to practice. Derrick Henry got rolling a little bit, but he's had some bad weeks. So I think if we can put this thing together, I would agree that, if people want to label us as a dark horse, that's totally fine. I'll stay camouflaged as long as possible.
It's interesting that so many quarterbacks have gone down this year. We talked a little bit about it in the first half hour of our program tonight. And of course, Rodgers now is a question mark. They're saying that it's his left hand, which is a good thing, But at the same time, this apparatus that they're going to try to work with, going to allow him to play this week or next week or whatever. But you go right up and down the line in the National Football League, and the most vulnerable position seems to turn out to be quarterbacks this year. And boy, they have gone down 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I think you're looking at a rash of some of these are obviously freak but non-contact type injuries with, Brock Purdy had been out for a number of weeks.
Right, the
turf toe, which is apparently extremely painful. I think Jonathan Ogden, Hall of Fame left tackle for the Ravens.
Joe Burrow, too, right?
Basically retired because of that. Joe Burrow's been out. Dart has a concussion. Michael Penix just tore a couple CLs in his knee. So,
they're doing everything they can to protect the quarterback, but you have guys that get out of the pocket and they run, and some of these guys go head first. Some of them can't slide very well. Some of them don't go out of bounds. You have these low hits. You have offensive lines. I know for the Ravens, their offensive line, I would say, is not very good. So you do a lot of factors, I think, that play into that. So
I think the biggest one was in Washington. There's a young fellow that was, he was a star of the league last year, and they expected him to lead the team and, to be a competitive team in 25.
Sure.
And he got hurt twice, not just once, but he got knocked out twice. And now it's a matter of corporate decision as to how quickly they're going to bring him back, if what they're going to bring him back at all.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think a part of having a franchise quarterback of that, elite level, has to, they have to do better with these guys. Throw the ball in the grandstands and live to fight another down. Slide feet first. Run out of bounds. Do different things to protect your body. Particularly for these, running quarterbacks. You guys were talking about this in a previous week that, RG3 was never the same. Never. Loading out his helmet met his knee. So there was.
You just wonder how you wonder how Allen does it week in and week out. He doesn't run out of bounds. He just stays in. He runs the ball a lot. It's amazing to me that he has withstood. He's not the biggest guy in the world to start with, but holy smokes,
it's most quarterbacks. But he's a rough and tumble guy.
Same thing with me, with the Bucks. He doesn't run for the sidelines. He runs right into you.
Yeah, I think your biggest qualms there would be concussions in terms of helmet-to-helmet contact and/or getting his helmet in the back of his head hitting the ground or something of that nature in terms of how he fell. But yeah, they have reckless abandon for wanting to win and getting the yards they need and doing the things they need to do it.
I'm a big fan, and I'm a big fan of Sean McDermott, and I hope that they can go all the way this year. Talking about the sliding brought back memories. Correct me if I'm wrong, but Michael Vick, they had trouble teaching him how to slide. He seemed to go head first or out of bounds. And as I recall, Don, you may and Frank may recall this. I think the Eagles at that time, because it was Andy Reid during his tenure, they had one of the Phillies players working with him as far as learning how to slide.
You're right. You're exactly right. They did.
All you need is a slip and slide in a bathing suit, and you can teach anybody. Frank can chime in if he wants here, but what I see even at the baseball level here with these kids, I've been watching my son play for years now, and none of these coaches teach any of these kids how to correctly slide.
They don't have the sliding fits anymore, Doug. They used to have the sliding fits all the time. It was crazy.
Well, one thing, my dad, if he were listening, would say, he used to love to watch me play baseball, and the pop-up slide, if you will, was something that we worked on quite a bit, in baseball, so that you could go feet first into second base, and if you popped up quick enough and the ball got past the second baseman or whatever, you could keep going. And these kids, one of the reasons why these people wear those stupid oven mitts that I don't know if they're regulated or not, but whatever, it's so they don't put their hand down backwards when they slide, because you'll hurt your wrist and your fingers. That's one of the reasons. That's the reason why they wear those mitts. And going head first into a lot of these bases, you see people trying to slide head first into first base, slide head first into home plate.
Right.
Those are just crazy. That's a great way to get hurt right there.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of, and think about, when you're going into second base as a runner and you've got a double play opportunity and you're trying to take either the shortstop, or second baseman, whomever out, we practice all those things. These kids don't do that now. And far be it for somebody to teach a quarterback how to slide,
Yeah. Roger?
Doug, I got to tell you, this goes back a number of years. It was up at the rack at Rutgers, and they were playing Notre Dame. And this kid from Notre Dame, I think it was 6 straight foul shots he missed. And after the game, and they were upset, about it. I mean, they won the game, as I recall. But the point was, I just went over to him and I said, I don't know whether anybody has ever said anything to you about this, but you shoot your foul shots a different way every time you shoot. And he says, what do you mean? And I pointed it out to him, what I was always told, you want to have your hand with the seams going across, okay, so that you're spinning the ball when it goes up. And he thanked me, and he said nobody ever said that to him. And here I'm just a fan in the stands, but he missed 6 straight foul shots, and that was what I noticed. He didn't care how they were going, and I guess guys don't care. But I think that in anything you have to be consistent, and you're right. I think a lot of coaches don't do that. I taught in T-ball how kids knew to move a runner and so stay on the base and move. And okay, now the play, if you want to get the out at home plate, do you want to get the out at third base, wherever the lead runner is? And, and you try to install that. But a lot of that is not done today. And when I see a lot of high school and middle school games, obviously, but I do see some really good coaches that do really stress basics.
The focal points of a lot of these kids, because, they're so in tune with sports memes or, YouTube or ESPN or all these things. And they're looking at highlight reels. They're looking at the impossible things these athletes do. And that's what they want to copy. They want the flair. They want to flip their bat after a home run. They want to, dog it and trot around the field. And, you just don't see, to me anyway, from watching youth sports, most of these kids, procrastination is an understatement, but you just don't see these kids having the work ethic and having the hustle, that I think we can all agree that we did, because if you made the last out in baseball, your Piney ran back to the dugout, and if somebody didn't bring you your gloves, you got it, you ran to your position. Most of these kids don't do that. And, they take their time putting their batting gloves on and off, and they're, like all these different things. Like even in the World Series, they were, and I never understood this year. They were talking about Ohtani because he was pitching that one game and he made the last out. And they're like, the next inning got delayed. And I'm like, what do you mean? I was like, go grab your glove, take off your whatever, elbow pads and shit, like whatever. Just take it off and just go grab the ball and go pitch. Like, what do we need to delay for? Like, why are we pampering this guy? You know what I mean? All right.
Well, it's a different game in every sport now. The games that we saw and the things that we saw growing up, we talked about this again in the second half hour tonight, was the fact that so many of the little things now, and as you watch a National Football League game, how many times do you see illegal motion? How many times do you see offsides on a play that's third and a yard and a half to go and the guy goes offsides, or the illegal motion before they even get the play underway? I mean, it's the little technique things that for some reason, and I don't just say it's because there isn't any exhibition season, I don't understand it. How can you be that disoriented that you don't? You know what the call is. You know what it is. How can you be in motion at all sides that many times?
I want to shift gears real quick because I know we typically hit some or all of the Baltimore area, but if you guys were paying attention, probably happened late last night or early this morning. But Grayson Rodriguez was traded from the Orioles to Angels for Taylor Ward. He was an outfielder, so I think that's a pretty big tell. I think that's a pretty big maneuver for the Orioles to, I mean, Rodriguez is under control through 2029. He's 26 or 27.
Good.
oft injured. So I guess the Orioles were basically saying, look, you guys can have him, and if you can do something with him, great. We'll take your home run hitting outfielder Taylor Ward that hit 36 home runs last year, and that fills the need for us. But I think it also leaves quite a void in, obviously our rotation. So I think the tell would be that there's something bigger on the horizon with regard to a free agent signing, I think.
Roger? Yeah, I was just wondering what you thought. That was going to be my next question. What do you think of the trade? So you just
I mean, I think about 6 o'clock this morning when I was making coffee here, my wife was already just about complete. Well, she was completed with her workout here at the house. She got up early and had to get to work and whatnot. So she mentioned that to me, and I looked at it, and I had to kind of rub my eyes, like, you know what I mean? Like, what? Like, they did what? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Rodriguez did not pitch last year and has had multiple injuries over the last several years. So I guess they felt like they couldn't wait anymore for him to get himself together, and we'll see. I mean, this guy from the Angels, corner outfielder, decent stick. Like I said, hit 36 home runs, had over 100 RBI last year. So I think that's one of the bats they were looking for. We'll see what they continually do as these, free agents and winter meetings. Keep in mind that Mike Elias was formerly of the Astros. Framber Valdez is a free agent this year. I mean, selfishly, I'd like to see them get one more big bat. I'd like to see me Pete Alonso on first base, but I don't know if that's in the cards or not. But they definitely need some bullpen help, and they obviously need a couple more starters. So they're going to hopefully spend some money here.
Well, there's hoping that Cohen's going to spend a lot of money on Alonso to get him back with the Mets, or whether he's going to do it or not, I don't know. They had to struggle last year, but as disappointed as you were in the way the general manager operated last year, and not only trading, but in getting players to support the bullpen and to get pitching to became relevant until late in the season. So it sounds like you're a little bit more encouraged. At least they're moving in a direction that's more positive to people in Baltimore.
Well, there's one more name that I'd like to see in an Oriole uniform. The closer from the Padres, who I think opted out of his contract, Robert Suarez, which we have his brother Albert on the team already. We do not have a bona fide major league closer on our roster. Felix Bautista obviously is not going to pitch this year with shoulder injuries. So that's a huge, I mean, if you can get me a ninth inning shutdown guy like that, now that makes an 8-inning game. Now we can start working backwards from there in terms of how to fill that bullpen. So, I would fully anticipate whether it's, some kind of a trade. I think Ryan Mountcastle's probably the odd man out. I don't know if Heston Kjerstad's going to get another opportunity or not. So, I mean, there's some names that we have that could be floated in trades. And if they were willing to spend whatever it was last year, $80-90 million of additional payroll that basically came off the books, most of, or at least half of, will they do it again and actually get somebody who's worth it?
Roger?
Yeah, how old is Mountcastle?
The Mets, I think, released him, didn't they?
No, Ron Mountcastle.
Oh, I thought you said Montas, Frankie Montas.
No, Montas was released yesterday, yes.
Correct. Brian Mountcastle, I believe, is right around 30.
Okay, so he may be. He may be a little shy, but he's right around 30, going probably in the season. So,
that's some powerful years with the Orioles and get over 30 home runs. But the last couple, he just has not produced. I think they might have some different ideas in terms of who's going to play first base moving forward. I don't know.
Well, Doug, they've had so many players in the minor leagues that everybody keeps saying they're coming, that this is one of the best minor league systems.
Yeah.
And they really didn't utilize anything last year to strengthen the club before the last part of the season. They never really made any real determined effort. And you were constantly talking about the GM position and what his responsibilities were.
Well, they were mostly sellers at the deadline, and I think between the draft and what they got in a lot of their trades by getting rid of O'Hearn and to the Padres, I can't remember the center fielder who was pretty good, had a really good season last year. But they got about 6 players from the Padres. I mean, they had a serviceable draft. You'll see
in coming weeks. The Rule 5 draft is always one that they pay attention to. They've already made, some of these waiver wire and kind of low-level kind of depth piece, Leody Tavares and just people like that are going to receive an invitation to spring training to see if they can catch lightning in a bottle or not. But I want to see them spend money the right way. I want them to actually build this the right way in terms of no Charlie Mortons, no Saganos, no, darts that they're going to throw and hope. Let's go get the right people.
Right. Roger?
I was just looking at changing sports at college basketball. That Big 5 extravaganza will be up on December 5th at the Xfinity Mobile, now at the new name, Mobile Arena. And then also I see that Villanova is going to be playing at Michigan. And I'll tell you, it would surprise me, Don, Michigan's number 7. And they got rid of their coach. Remember last year?
Yes.
Phil Martelli took over for part of the season. And I find it interesting that a team that let the coach is gone is number 7 in preseason or early in the season.
Well, I haven't talked to Phil. Phil did get a job with ESPN and so forth, doing selected games last year after the coaching change was made after Michigan, and because there was a number of games where he actually took over as the head coach.
Yeah.
But so it's going to be interesting to see what they do in that regard. I hope Phil continues with his TV broadcasting as well, because he's a great guy, and I'll tell you, he was a great coach for so many years at St. Joe's, and then on to Michigan as well. So, but I'll tell you, coaching is a tough. Doug, you know better than anybody. Coaching is a tough business now.
Yeah. Well, you're talking different levels. I mean, I'm still cool in the eyes of my 12-year-olds, but once you get to that certain level you're talking about with college and pro and all those, that's a special kind of person that can develop and stand in the middle of the room and have 53 people buy into their ideas from a football standpoint. Or you're dealing with all these NIL, situations where these kids are making so much money, and you have to babysit these kids, and it's different.
Doug, enjoy every minute of it, okay?
Undoubtedly.
Because it passes by quickly.
For sure. That's great advice. Well heeded. Frank has told me that, a number of different times.
Absolutely. You couldn't get better advice than that. I mean, you're never going to get those days again.
The dedication of Frank Carroll with with what he told me, and the amount of miles that he put on his vehicle to see that through, and the advice that he's given me, with the kids. We've talked about a lot of different things. I'm currently getting ready to. We've had a couple basketball practices, but this next one on Friday, I'm still going back and forth with what kind of offense to run for these kids in basketball, because I have to make it simple enough, but yet, good enough that it's going to work. So that's kind of what my next goal here is.
Well, I haven't heard tick, tick, tick yet. It's 1 minute after 9. So
It's tick, tick, tick is coming right now.
There it is.
Oh, there it comes. Tick, tick, tick.
Happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
Yep. Everyone in your families, Doug, all the best for the holiday, and we'll talk to you down the road.
Guys, we'll be off next week. We will not be.
Okay, for the holiday.
Right.
Yep. Take care. Thanks a lot, as always.
Roll with 2 weeks.
Yes, sir.
God bless everyone. Be safe.
Ladies and gentlemen, these programs are brought to you each and every night of the week in grateful appreciation to the men and women of the United States Armed Forces, the men with police and fire services. When you're out there and you see somebody in uniform, please let them know you know they're there. These programs are dedicated to those who've lost their lives in the line of duty. Deputy Robert Anthony Carroll, Patrolman David Curtis, Patrolman Jeffrey Colcap, Patrolman Jeffrey Yazowitz, Sergeant Thomas Badinger, San Diego Officer Mike Hendler, Sergeant Tom Wilson, Charlotte County Sheriff's Department, Detective Randy Bell, Detective Ricky Childers, Patrolman Charlie Condit, Tarpon Springs Police Department, Chief Mike Godwin, Philadelphia Fire Department, Lieutenant Joyce Craig Lewis, Philadelphia Fire Department, Sergeant James O'Connor, Philadelphia Police Department, Sergeant Chris LeVake, Hillsborough County Sheriff's Department, Lieutenant Mike Zerba, Newcastle County Police, Patrolman Anafa Crispin, Lakeland PD, Deputy Josh Meyer, Nassau County Sheriff's Department, Captain Matt Letourneau, Philadelphia Fire Department, Captain Chris Leach, Wilmington Fire Department, Lieutenant Ardith Hope, Wilmington Fire Department. Lieutenant Jerry Ficus, Wilmington Fire Department. Chief Jimmy Ford, Wilmington Fire Department. Chief Al Hogle, Longview Key Police Department. Deputy Mike Hargrove, Pinellas County Sheriff's Department. Trooper Chelsea Richards, Florida Highway Patrol. Trooper Joe Bullock, Florida Highway Patrol. Trooper Zachary Ben, Florida Highway Patrol. Sergeant Chris Fitzgerald, Philadelphia Police Department. Sergeant Ramon Mendez, Philadelphia Police Department. Chief Corey Compantier, Buffalo Creek Fire Department. Deputy Ronnie Ronozinski, Manatee County Sheriff's Office. And Patrolman Zachary Butterfield, Bradenton Police Department. My brothers and sisters, although you may be 10-7 at this point in time, and sometime we'll be 10-10 at the table of the Lord. Until that time, may the roads rise up to meet you. May the winds be always at your back. May the rains fall softly on your fields and the sun shine lightly on your face. Until we meet again, may the good Lord keep you and your family always in the palm of his hands. Good night, God bless, and have a great week, and happy Thanksgiving.